For all of these answers that you've given me, does the President-elect agree with you?
The President-elect and I have not had the opportunity to discuss this specific issue or the specific area.
Well, in your statement on page 3, you say, in his campaign, President-elect Trump proposed a bold new commitment to advancing American interests in our foreign policy. I hope to explain what this approach means and how it implement that policy if I am confirmed as Secretary of State. So I assume to some degree that you've had some discussion about what it is that worldview is going to be in order to understand whether you're willing to execute that on behalf of the person you're going to work for.
In a broad construct and in terms of the principles that are going to guide that, yes, sir.
And I would have thought that Russia would be at the very top of that, considering all the actions that are taking place. Did not happen?
That has not occurred yet, Senator.
That's pretty amazing. You built a career on ExxonMobil that you said afforded you the opportunity to engage regularly with world leaders, including Vladimir Putin in Russia. In 2013, he awarded you with the Order of Friendship Award. And in our conversations, you told me you had direct and personal access to the Russian president over the course of your tenure there. Then in 2014, ExxonMobil lobbied aggressively against sanctions on Russia after their invasion of Ukraine. Exxon lobbied against the Stability and Democracy for Ukraine Act, which I introduced in the Senate last year. You employed well-known Washington-based lobbyists to support these efforts. You personally visited the White House and reported that you were engaged, quote, at the highest levels of government. In essence, Exxon became the in-house lobbyist for Russia against these sanctions. Sanctions are one of the most effective diplomatic tools in our arsenal, one we rely on to avoid putting American lives at risk by engaging in traditional kinetic warfare. Now, today, in response to a previous question by Senator Cardin, you said sanctions are a powerful tool. But you have made statements and given speeches where you have said you do not believe sanctions are a useful tool. So if sanctions are not a useful tool, have you changed your view? What are the tools of peaceful diplomacy you will use to get countries to return and act within the international order? What are you going to say to Vladimir Putin when he says to you, but Rex, you said sanctions were bad?
Senator, I think it's important to acknowledge that when sanctions are imposed, they by their design are going to harm American business. That's the idea, is to disrupt America's business engagement in whatever country is being targeted for sanctions. And so broadly,
I don't think it's to disrupt American business. I think it's to disrupt the economies of those countries. Now, American business may or may not be affected to some degree.
American business, if America is going to have an influence on disrupting those economies, then the intent behind the sanctions is to disrupt that country's access to American business investment, money flows, technology, and all the
financial sectors.
Correct.
Our financial sector.
So by its very, and I'm only stating a fact. I'm not debating it, but the fact is sanctions, in order to be implemented, do impact American business interest. In protecting America's interest, and I think this is where the President-elect would see the argument as well, is sanctions are a powerful tool. Let's design them well, let's target them well, and then let's enforce them fully. And to the extent we can, if we can have other countries join us, or if we are designing sanctions in concert, let's ensure those sanctions apply equally everywhere. So
when you made your remarks, and I have a long list here, which I'll introduce for the record, you did not differentiate that way. You basically made the broad case that sanctions are not an effective tool. Now, I heard